All right, good afternoon, traders, and welcome to the Pro Trader webinar today with Doug Pless. We've had him before, and we'll have the Pro Trader webinar series in mid-September. So look forward to that, and Doug will likely be in there again. So I wanted to let you know about that, Doug. This event here is we're going to go over options in the Pro Trader webinar, and Doug is heavily involved in options trading, looking at some very interesting strategies with specific indicators, with Hiro indicator, with Spotgamma, and then looking at the order flow within Bookmap to make his decisions. So he had some ideas for some new strategy, so we wanted to cover that, and this will also set him up, I think, nicely for the Pro Trader webinar coming up in mid-September, and to go over more details, and so you guys will get a kind of a sneak peek of what's going on in here with the you guys will get with the new strategy, and you can ask him questions. All right, so let me just go give an introduction here. Doug's been trading options around 2008. Mostly selling strategies, and then he's worked with a variety of traders and mentors, from Thinkorswim, and then he left his career with engineering, information technology, and then began really digging in deep into the trading, he discovered Bookmap in 2020. And Spotgamma later that year. He currently day trades futures and stocks full-time, actively participates in the Bookmap Discord chat room, posts content daily in the chat and on Twitter, and writes articles also for Spotgamma. So we've had him before, some very interesting webinars, and I will put those into the chat as well. So if you guys are interested, you'll have something else to look at, kind of bone up on some of the content that he's created before. I have his contact information here as well if you want to reach out to him. His Twitter is Spotgamma articles, and Spotgamma article for presentation here. Got to go through risk disclosure, and then we'll just turn it right over to Doug. General disclosure: all Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure: trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Okay, so let's see, Doug, if you can present your screen. Looks like you already are. Let me get it set up here, and there we go. I need to start this event. Okay, and close it here. Okay. All right, Doug, I believe you are all set to go.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bruce. First, let me add that everything I say today, this is my opinion. This is just what I have.
Doug, it's a little low on the volume. I'm sorry. Could you boost it up just a bit?
Is this any better?
Maybe your mic is further away from you.
How's this?
Oh, that's much better.
Okay, yeah, I guess I had it turned down a little bit. Okay, are we good to go?
Yes.
Okay, great. So first, I just want to say that everything I'm going to say, this is my opinion. And this is just what I have observed from using Bookmap for a couple of years and my experience with options. So the title of what I'm going to talk about today is an option-based approach for trading futures and stocks. And why options? Options are forward-looking, and they're about expectations. A quick example would be a trader buys a call, and there's really only one reason that I can think of for a trader to buy a call, and that is that trader expects the stock or index to move higher. So it's again about expectations. And if enough traders are buying calls in this underlying, whatever it is, then market makers have to they're selling the calls, and they have to buy the stock or the index to hedge their delta exposure. So that's just a quick, easy example. But again, that's kind of the basis for why I'm looking at options. And I use options for planning and preparation, as well as finding and executing trades. Um, as far as the planning and preparation go, I look at key gamma levels, and these are provided by Spotgamma. And I look at where the levels are located and how they are shifting over time. And I'll talk about more about that in September in the Pro Trader webinar series. Uh, Today, I want to talk about how I use Bookmap combined with these gamma levels and real-time options activity to day trade futures and stocks. So again, the gamma levels are provided by Spotgamma, and then the real-time options activity is shown by an indicator that Spotgamma developed called Hiro, and that is the hedging impact of real-time options. Before I dig into that, I want to take a look at ES today. It's just been a fascinating day. I was talking about this with Bruce a little bit just a little while ago. So first of all, you can see I have a lot of levels on my screen. It's not every day that ES moves 100 points, so that's why so many levels. And I also use uh, an add-on available in the Bookmap marketplace called Price Lines that generates most of these levels. So I just fill out a CSV file, and these lines are drawn automatically. This would just be too much to do manually. I'm going to go back to just after Jerome Powell started speaking at 10 a.m. And here you can see the reversal lower at right around 10:10. There's a big a stop run and a buy sweep up into these two levels here. And these levels were on my screen before the open. And this first level is a Spotgamma level that was provided, and they noted this. And Brent, who the founder of Spotgamma, noted this in his AM report, AM Founders Note, as a resistance level. And then this is I have this shown as the key gamma strike. It's also a SPY level, SPY 420, and it's also the call wall, which is a noted as a resistance level. So this was the first clue to me that there could be a reversal here. That's a big sweep into that level, and then considering both of these levels were resistance. And you could also see that there was a large sell iceberg executed here. You can see that in the on chart indicator, as well as the shift lower in this blue line here. And by the way, I have 4 lines in my subchart: CVD, Hiro, which is the green line, and then stops, which is the yellow line, and icebergs, which is the blue line. And all these lines are in sum or cumulative mode. CVD, of course, is only available on cumulative mode, and the same for Hiro. And then for the stops and icebergs, I have the setting set to sum mode. So I can, I can see that at this point, traders started selling calls and buying puts, and also this sell iceberg executed. and then ES started making a series of lower highs, and finally broke here when the stops really got going. So you've got 203 stop orders there, 285, 770, and that's kind of what got the ball rolling to the downside. So again, this has just been a fascinating day in ES. Then one other thing to notice here is something that happens quite often uh, with the sum mode here. You can see that larger traders were buying weakness, and that often occurs, and you can see that in the with the iceberg um, subchart indicator set to sum mode, and um, the same for Hiro. And this has been a pretty common behavior most of this year with the high volatility. Is traders will add positive delta into weakness, meaning they are selling puts and buying calls in SPX and SPY, and then they will do the opposite into strength. They will sell calls and buy puts. And again, that's been pretty common behavior for most of this year, and that's what Hiro is showing. One other thing to add, um, for ES traders, it's important to keep in mind that ES is a very complex product. It's first of all, it's a derivative of an index of 500 stocks, and there are really three products that represent that index, and SPX is the main index. And as you know, that's a cash settled index. um, and you can't buy or sell SPX. It's an options only product, and I in my mind, it's typically more of an institutional product used by portfolio managers for hedging. They buy puts, SPX puts, to hedge um, a portfolio of stocks and sell calls to pay for those puts. And there's also SPY, which is 1/10 the size of SPX. And in my mind, that's a little bit more of a retail product, possibly used more for speculation by retail traders. And then ES, um, often used for hedging by market makers who are um, on the other side of the option trades for SPX and SPY. So, in my opinion, if it's important to uh, track the SPX and SPY levels when you're or be aware of them. You can see I have them on my chart when you're trading ES. Okay, so um, again, you can finally see on Hiro that traders are still um, taking the uh, taking advantage of the weakness to sell puts and buy calls, and SPY and possibly SPX. Okay, let me talk a little bit more about Hiro. So again, Hiro is a an indicator developed by Spotgamma that shows the hedging impact of real-time options. There are two versions of Hiro. There's the Bookmap version that you see here, and this is the original version. Um, and there are advantages and disadvantages to each, and they they work together. I use both. Uh, Bookmap Hiro is a little bit more limited than Spotgamma Hiro. There are fewer stocks, that are stocks and futures that are included uh, for Bookmap Hero. And then the newer version is Spotgamma Hero. And let's take a look at that. One thing I wanted to add. This shows the talking about ES and SPY and SPX. This shows the key gamma levels for SPY, and you can remember on my chart that 420 was the high point, and that is that's shown here. That's the highest. Above zero shows calls, and below zero shows puts, and that's obviously uh, the highest level of calls by far. And again, that's the key gamma strike and also the call wall, and uh, acted as a resistance today. All right, so let's take a look at spot gamma. I'm just going to I have to refresh this quickly. Okay, it looks like it's up to date. So this shows that traders have been, again, taking advantage of the weakness in SPY to buy calls and sell puts all day. The couple of things that separate Spotgamma Hero from Bookmap Hero is there are more stocks available, more symbols available, and also it's possible to separate the put and call transactions. So the puts are shown in the blue line, and calls are shown in the orange line. So actually, you can see here that traders buying calls is the driving force for Hiro. Now, not and other uh, indexes and symbols, stocks work in different ways. So here's QQQ. Let's take a look at the total, and you can see much more of a direct correlation in Hiro and the Qs. And this is pretty typical. Um, and let's take a look at some stocks here. One, um, Tesla. There's almost always a direct, almost a tick for tick correlation with Hiro and Tesla and um, and price action. So um, so you can see that the signals vary greatly um, for different stocks, and most stocks have their um, uh, kind of typical behavior. So this is very typical for Tesla, and like I said, this behavior of selling strength and buying weakness is very typical for SPY. Let me refresh this here. And I've shifted to my watch list. And let's go back to SPY now. So again, quite different behavior depending on the underlying that you're looking at. So I use Hiro in three different ways. Um, one is a leading indicator, one is confirmation, and then the last way is an exit signal. And I actually wrote a blog article about that. And here it is. I've written a number of articles for Spotgamma, and this is the link to the. This may be the first article that I wrote about Spotgamma Hiro, and I describe um, my trading process and then 3 examples of how I use it. So again, um, the first is trend continuation, and the second is trend reversal, or acting as a leading indicator, and then third is trend termination, or an exit signal. And again, this article goes through details uh, about how I use it in each situation. So any questions, Bruce? I can't see YouTube. I can only see the chat in Discord.
Nothing over in YouTube, and just a lot of appreciation over in the chat here in Discord.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So,
I actually have quite a few questions, Doug.
yeah, go ahead.
Can you kind of like just recap some of these a little bit? I mean, I'm just so fascinated by the options and how also like today in the webinar, the advanced webinar that we had earlier, you frequently put in images that show the condition of the buying and selling of puts and calls, and you're looking for something around specific areas. Maybe you can go back and talk a little bit about what you saw today during that time, and maybe just a quick recap in this article that would entice us to maybe look further into it.
Okay. So again, I have found three specific uses for Hiro. One is as a trend continuation or trend confirmation. One thing that I like to see, and let's we'll take a look at Bookmap again and see if I can let's maybe look at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is another stock that often shows a strong correlation with price action and Hiro. So if I see something like this with Hiro going down and CVD going down, that's, in my mind, that's a pretty easy short. So at this point, when you see this, you're just looking for a point to get short. This is a very, in my mind, a very strong confirmation uh, that the stock is going to continue down. Then you start looking uh, in the heat map for targets. So, with most stocks, the liquidity targets are pretty obvious, and this is at 170 and 165. See the liquidity targets. Let's see another one.
So,
AMD.
so I mean, the concept behind that is super simple. Um, they are hedging. The dealers are hedging, and they are selling NVIDIA, and therefore, and you just see it in line with heavy selling in CVD. Just go with the trend.
Right. So AMD is even a more clear example. So let's take a look at Spotgamma Hiro for AMD, and we'll separate out puts and calls. So here you can see that traders are, now that change shift a little bit. Traders are buying puts and selling calls. I think the more powerful force here is buying puts. If a trader sells a call, same with selling a put, the delta is limited. There's a they've limited their downside or upside. On the other hand, if you're buying a put, there is no limit to the delta. So this is a more powerful force leading a stock down. And what happens is, as traders buy puts, market makers are selling the puts, and that is a positive delta position for them. They want to hedge their delta exposure. They want to remain delta neutral. So they have to sell stock to hedge their delta exposure. So another thing to note is also, this is a very well, buying puts combined with selling calls is also even a more powerful force. This is a good indication that um, this stock is going to continue to go down as long as this goes on. Um,
So
so,
so the on that chart, um, the you I guess the way it's set up in the chart, I just don't quite understand the X and Y axis. If the blue line is puts, and if it's going down, that means they're actually
okay.
purchasing. They're not selling puts; they're buying puts. Is that correct?
Well, so the blue and orange lines, or the purple line, are shown in terms of delta.
Ah, okay, got
So
you.
so going down is negative delta. So buying puts or selling calls is a negative delta opening position. And again, market makers are taking the other side of that. So they are adding positive delta. They don't want that. So they have to sell stock to hedge their delta exposure to make them delta neutral.
Got you. So it's a very strong when they're both going the same direction there.
Right. There was actually an article or a note in the uh, founder's note a few days ago about that. I can show that in a minute.
So then what you do is, then can you go to Bookmap and look at AMD,
Yeah,
and then maybe talk us through a you know, something that you were looking at and where you might consider getting in and out. You're just looking at the higher liquidity levels.
right. So here's the same sweep that occurred in ES at about the same time, around 10:10. So the sweep into a round number, and also this liquidity here, and you can see that sellers were absorbing the buyers. The purple dots, that's the color that I use for sell, are, you see the change in color from green to purple or red or pink, or whatever you use, and then lower highs. I like to enter if possible at round numbers, or also trend breaks. So if you were watching AMD closely at this time, I was watching ES, uh, but you would see the break below VWAP, break below the point of control, and both the Hiro line and the CVD line going down.
Okay, so you're
Then if you miss the initial entry, I would look for any trend breaks.
so you're looking on entry for limit sell orders on the way up at round numbers, and then
Uh,
trend breaks on the way down
Potentially.
with maybe buy sell stops or market sells.
Well, let me look at let's go back to ES, and I'll show you uh, where I entered this morning.
And
So
and and just I'm you know, not trying to get your secret sauce or anything, but just helpful for people to understand the your strategy and then trading mechanics around the strategy.
So, like I said, I was watching ES this morning, and so I saw the sweep up into the resistance, kind of this cluster of levels, and also liquidity at 4,200. So this is this top level is 4,204, and that's 4,204 there. SPX 4,204, which is at ES 4,205, and then SPX 420 call wall key gamma strike, and then the the big purple dots coming in, and I watched it, noticing the lower highs, and then my entry was right here at 418, noticing that stops were coming in. The stop line was starting to go down. CVD was starting to drop. Hiro was dropping. And again, icebergs had already kind of initiated the move here. So
Beautiful,
this,
Doug. Beautiful chain or correlation events there.
so in my mind, this was the ideal entry.
Yeah, makes great sense.
Zoom back out. Did that answer your questions, Bruce? So this this morning Hiro was part of the clue, but it's as you can see, it's been going up ever since starting about 10:30, with traders taking advantage of the weakness to sell puts and buy calls. And again, behavior is quite different in other stocks and indices. So here's QQQ, and you can see that for most of the morning it was more of a continuation or a directional confirming indicator.
So, Doug, did you set limit sell orders for a pullback strategy, or did you just kind of get in with market?
I can't remember.
That's okay. Just
it was a sell limit.
okay.
I clicked right on the SPY 418 line.
Got you.
And clicked and put that. Okay. And again, the series the signals can vary quite a bit for the different instruments. As with any indicator, it's very important to understand what it's showing you, and for each different instrument and how they behave. So I've watched ES and Q and these stocks for quite a while, so I have a pretty good sense of how they behave. And again, I would reference that article for more details about how I the three scenarios for how I use Hiro. And this is combined with, it's not Hiro alone, it's combined with signals that I see in Bookmap. So as a leading indicator, I think it's um, here. Let me put a link to the article in Discord chat. Let's see where it was at. Okay, there's a link to the article in chat. The next thing, so as a for trading ES, I find Hiro most useful as a leading indicator, and I've seen this behavior so much that uh, I've kind of named a setup, and let me called Hiro Kickoff, and let me show you an example of that. Uh, I'm going to open this screenshot and let's move that over here. Expand that a little bit. So here, so here you can see that this up move really was initiated with option traders taking advantage of the weakness in SPX and SPY to buy calls and sell puts. And then that kind of levels off. And at some point, they start selling strength. But after the initial move in Hiro, then in this case, both aggressive buyers and stop orders continue to fuel the move higher. So why kickoff? Think of think of football. So the series of plays begins with the kickoff. The kickoff teams then, after that play, they leave the field, and the regular offense and defense take the field, and that's the behavior that I've observed. So the move initiates, and it can be with icebergs too. I've seen that quite a bit, and that's kind of where I got this idea. Is larger traders often selling strength and buying weakness with iceberg orders, and that's often apparent with the iceberg set in subchart into some mode. So that's the idea behind this Hiro kickoff. So when I see this behavior of Hiro rising and price continuing to fall, I look for a level that could where price could potentially reverse higher. And here it's at the SPY 410 key gamma strike, or close to it, that the reversal begins. And then I look at Bookmap for signals of a reversal. So the first clue here is the the bunch of larger green dots making higher lows, more green dots, and then the stop starting to rise. So that's one example.
Is it always stops that you look at in that?
It'd be stops, icebergs, and aggressive buyers that take the field after Hiro and
Gotcha.
and move the stock higher. Here's another example. This a little bit bigger. Now in this case, Hiro was moving along with other. This is more of a, I guess, sideways chop initiated by Hiro and also stops, it looks like. That's, that's perhaps not quite as good an example, but, in this case, the traders continue to buy calls and sell puts. And also the stop orders increase as well as the aggressive buyers.
So,
For
Doug, on
example,
on that strategy, do you so there's a couple interesting things that Brent had talked about, and then what you're talking about now with the Hero. Like you see them at number one there, they are buying, right? And that's the you start to see the kickoff, and then you see the stops being triggered there, and also CVD starting to go up.
right.
So how often do you see the like interesting what Brent had said that you see the Hero, but then they just stop? I mean, they're hedged. They're kind of like their work is done, and it just kind of goes flat. In this case, they start to sell again back up in those at higher liquidity, up at like 4, 5, and 6. But the stops continue. So are you still kind of you're still kind of waiting for the stops to maybe kind of turn around again, and then for a potential reversal or take profit in those areas, or are you just looking for the high liquidity up in those areas?
Uh, so in this example, if I saw stops um, starting to turn down, uh, price action leveling off and turning down, then I would, um, I would look for an exit. So this is probably more of a typical example, though, and you never know exactly uh, when price will reverse, and it may never, like today. Again today in ES. Let's go back to ES. Traders again since about 10:30 have been selling puts and buying calls, and price continues to go down. And I would not look for a reversal here until uh, CVD ticks up, and looking at price action first. Um, confirming. I would be looking for uh, higher highs and higher lows, and CVD and stops to confirm that. And who knows today? This is a pretty strong move to the downside.
Yeah, how do you make sense of this? I mean, or I guess that you had your trade earlier in the day with a good setup. But is this just kind of an anomaly and you're just like, I don't get it. I'm not touching it until I see structure start to change and CVD start to change.
I yeah, I would not. Um, I guess given the event this morning and the what apparently the market interpreted as a pretty strong uh, hawkish stance from Jerome Powell, I would not look to get long, uh, probably under any circumstances today. I never even thought about getting long today. Just even though um, I may sell some puts at the end of the day, but certainly not consider uh, buying ES or SPY. So I may join these traders uh, selling puts, but that's about the extent of it as far as positive delta trades.
Yeah, understood.
You just have to, uh, you know, take keep the whole picture in mind. And I was pretty open. Um, my plan was my thesis for today was it depends on the 10 a.m. news. So it depends on the uh, I guess the consumer sentiment report that came out at 10, and then also uh, what Powell had to say, and that the the action today was totally dependent on that. There were really no shifts in the gamma levels that I track overnight, so there was really no clue, no shifts up or down in the key gamma levels. And let's see, David asked a couple questions. Um, and yes, I do use SPY. Um, and SPY is a lot easier. Um, there's less stuff here, so it's often easier. That I guess that's an advantage and a disadvantage. um, there's more information on the ES chart with the stops and icebergs. Um, on SPY, uh, as far as indicators, there's just CVD and Hiro, and then of course the sweeps and absorption, and you could see that at and the levels as well. And then yes, David, I do use um, sweeps and absorption as confirmation. Often at turning points for entries. Now, I guess on the other hand, the liquidity levels just aren't there in SPY. Those are much easier to see in ES than SPY. Again, compared to stocks, the liquidity levels are much more obvious and easy to use as targets.
So in many of these, like your kickoff strategy is like the kickoff team is still kicking off.
Right. So yeah, sometimes it doesn't work. Um, there was um, never a confirmation. Um, so in a way, the kickoff team is still on the field, and uh, briefly there was some iceberg buying activity, but that's actually been going down now. So the the offense and the defense never took the field here.
A question, Doug, do you find on a day like today, like um, that maybe they will, but on much higher time frame?
It's possible uh, on a Friday afternoon. Um,
Well, I mean,
I
not for the day, but for the week or something like next week, if you see a lot of just positive delta, or I'm sorry, at that point, a positive CVD next week or something like that.
well, I guess with such a strong move today, uh, you might anticipate uh, some move higher. I expect. Let's take a look at at Brent's note for this morning, the founder's note. So a couple things to keep in mind. ES now is way below the volatility triggers for SPY and SPX. So gamma notional here was very mildly positive for SPX and negative for SPY. The gamma notional will be much more negative for both on Monday. The ES is both below the volatility triggers, and that's the gamma flip line for both SPX and SPY. Brett also notes somewhere in here that he sees 4,300 as major resistance and 4,000 as major support. So it's highly possible that ES continues on down to 4,000. We just have to wait and see on Monday. Things, I will look at the shift of gamma levels over the weekend and on Monday morning in his report, and see how things shape up then. I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah. No, it makes perfect sense. To peek and see what might be unfolding at that point.
So for Monday with the move today, ES is down 117 points right now. I expect major shifts in gamma levels. Like I said, I was going to talk about that more at the Pro Trader webinar series. I expect shifts down in key gamma strikes, call walls, put walls. We'll see with the equity hub and the report on Monday morning. See where those levels shifted. And I don't know, do you want to see any more examples of the Hiro kickoff?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. Let's actually look at some examples in Spotgamma Hiro, and these are setups that I posted in Discord and Twitter. So this is in the queues, and you can see here in this case it was acting as a leading indicator, 45 minutes before QQQ started to go down. Actually, let's see if I can do this. Jump to the next one. Here's another one for the Qs. Again, as a leading indicator, but not there's not a lot of time, maybe 10-15 minutes between when it starts to go down and the Qs start to go down.
So the just for people to know, there on the bottom in the center, the price is the black line, and then the total put call delta is the pink line.
Right. So this is kind of a simple legend down here. Here's one for SPY, showing that Hiro starts to kick up, maybe 5-10 minutes before price action reverses at the key gamma strike. I think I showed the ES chart for that. And here again, it's acting as a leading indicator. This is for SPY again. This is more of a confirming indicator, or continuation. Maybe in this first few minutes after the open, when price was going down and Hiro was going up, uh, somewhat of a leading indicator, but it quickly became a confirming indicator.
So the way you found to really get the most out of this is, okay, you've got your leading indicator. And so I'm asking a question. So you found your leading indicator, but and that's the kickoff. But now you're waiting
Right,
for the men on the field here to um, uh, take the ball and move it a
right.
certain direction. The
So once I see Hiro starting to move in a direction opposite to price, then I look at Bookmap for clues. I look for a level for a potential reversal, and also confirming indicators in price action and in Bookmap signals. Uh, could be a sweep to a level, stop run, um, iceberg starting to step in. Um, you know, some clear indications in Bookmap for price to reverse, and typically at some point soon after that, um, the option traders will start to take the other side of the trade. If price is moving up, at some point they'll start selling strength, adding negative delta positions to rising price, and then at that point the other players on the field are carrying the ball higher.
hmm. This is
Stop.
fascinating. Uh, and makes total sense. I mean, the clarity is great, Doug. Uh, because like you see like the hero indicator, go in one direction for a long time, and it's just like, wow, that's not helping. But you're waiting for the shift and the change, and let the order flow then tell you at that point.
Right. Yeah. So Hiro is uh, not a trigger or a trade signal. It's just a something to look at as for indices, ES primarily, as a leading indicator. There was a time where it used to be more of a trend continuation or a confirming indicator, but now I see my observation is that it works better as a leading indicator. Uh, and for stocks, I'm typically looking for um, Hiro to be a trend continuation or a confirming indicator. And the strongest signal for me is when Hiro and CVD are going in the same direction. That's a pretty good clue for a stock that uh, that stock is going to head to the next liquidity level.
Yeah, Doug. I mean, this just it looks like you're just shooting fish in a barrel here. Um, especially do you find that I imagine that one with stocks, that setup with stocks, like when you start to see that unfold, it's just kind of highly probable.
Yes, yeah, that's at that point when you see the two lines going in the same direction, the only question, the only problem left is to find your trigger when when you can get a safe entry.
Yeah, a question on that. And again, not trying to get secret sauce from you or anything, but like, uh, you showed like your pullback and entry on that. Um, it it almost seems like you could almost, I mean, you could really tighten up your stops. That's one way. But it almost seems like, God, you just might as well just, like, it's going that way. It's going to likely going to turn around. You can place kind of wider stops and let it kind of work out. I don't know which kind of method you use for placing stops.
Um, I keep a pretty consistent stop, and it kind of depends on the instrument. So I would SPY or something that's slower moving, typically, not necessarily today, but slower moving, or AMD, a smaller stock. Um, I would use a smaller stop than something like Nvidia or Tesla. And I really don't trade Tesla very much. I may more now that it's split. Um, but I would say that entries are something I'm still working on. That's really not my area of expertise. Uh, I know that maybe JTrader is better at specific entries than I am. And, again, I'm still working on it, but I'm looking for trend breaks at uh, you know specifically at trend breaks at key levels, and often absorption and sweeps as a confirming indicator. So, I hope that answers the question. But uh, also looking for change in color of the volume dots, and um, but I think my um, area of expertise at the moment anyway is that more of a larger picture analysis.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, the stops was a question in here in YouTube, and yeah, Kevin, he talked about targets.
Yeah, I don't want to give my specific stops. That's dependent on the size you're trading, the size of your account, your risk tolerance. Um,
Yeah, understood. Uh,
yeah.
but it's kind of this bigger picture. I mean, I could see it in general.
Mm.
It's this kind of bigger picture, and you're quite sure with some of the bigger picture moves here. There just might be a lot of wiggling in there before it starts to take hold. And I mean, it's in general, it kind of begs the question for me, like, how would I want to manage that in with smaller stops, multiple times, maybe get stopped out multiple times, or just a bigger stop and just let it kind of work.
Well, I did get stopped out this morning uh, before my final entry took hold, and to be honest, I got out too early. I did not expect price to continue going down, but overall, I was fine for the day. um, I had uh, had no idea that the move would be of this magnitude. There's no way of knowing.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know, Doug, how to go with this. I mean, like, I have all sorts of questions for you. You've already gone for an hour. I don't see too many more questions here in YouTube, and there's a few more in Discord we can take a look at. But the goal here was to go over your kickoff strategy and kind of how you use order flow and options in Hiro together. And you've done that, and then don't want to take too much of your material for your Pro Trader webinar coming in September. Um, so
okay.
maybe
Let,
if you feel
let me
comfortable, we can go through a few
Yeah, let
more.
me take a couple of quick questions
Okay.
from Discord.
Okay.
Um, And David asked, how do you incorporate this, the sweeps indicator? I use the sweeps indicator more as a an absorption, more as a uh, kind of, especially the sweeps, more looking for a reversal at that point, like this morning in ES and the stocks that we looked at. Um, the sweeps up into a resistance level is probably just like a stop run. Pretty good indication that you can expect a reversal at that point. Um, and he also asked, what do you do when SPX is the opposite? Um, I'm not sure I understand the question. That um, uh, you know what we're looking at here is uh, in Hiro for Bookmap is showing SPX and SPY call and put transactions. It's combining all that's shown here in Bookmap separately, and this here the same thing as SPY. Traders are taking the opposite side of the trade, taking advantage of the weakness to add positive delta trades. And if I don't see a confirmation of Bookmap that price is going to reverse, then um, I'm not going to follow them today. That's just the first part of the setup, and in my mind, the second part of the setup has not come into play. Stop orders are still firing off. Um, here this looks like over 1,000 stop orders. Sell icebergs are starting to, or have been going off. Um, Cumulative volume delta is going down. Just not looking for long. And I don't trade this time of day anyway. I usually just trade the morning session. So I'm done. Um, and Trader Tay, I'm not sure I understand your question. Um, HAA asks, is there a list of stocks um, that I focus on? And yes, there is. And that's shown here. This is my watch list, and shown here in Spotgamma Hiro. And I don't have all of these stocks open in Bookmap. I have my limit, and I mainly track um, uh, the big cap tech stocks, Apple, Amazon, Goog. Although Goog is Alphabet's not really tradable, it just doesn't move enough. Meta, which is trades pretty well, and often shows a pretty strong correlation with Hiro, price action and Hiro. Microsoft used to, but it is today. And things have shifted a little bit this week, and I'm seeing more correlation between price action and Hiro in these stocks. Netflix, I don't have open in Bookmap. It's just the bid-ask spread's a little bit too wide for me. Nvidia is another stock that tracks very well with Hiro. And then Tesla, like I said, does also. It tracks almost tick for tick with Hiro. It's the most consistent stock that I track, and I'll probably start to look to trade it again now that it's split.
So, Doug, another question I have for you is, I mean, looking at all your big cap stocks here, I mean, they're giving you really nice kind of trending move signals here.
Yeah, they are. That in the past, uh, I that has not necessarily been the case, but it shifted this week,
Huh.
and I saw a lot more correlation. between price action and Hiro and stocks, and today it's just beautiful. I mean, just pick what you want to trade and trade it. And Amazon is pretty consistent.
So the question I have, I mean, is now all of these big, obviously these big caps make up the indexes,
Right.
and we're not seeing that in the index. So as soon as these, maybe some of these leading stocks maybe start to turn around, there's just, I mean, there's definitely a discrepancy, a divergence between the indices and these big cap stocks at the moment.
Well, if you look at price action, they're all going down. It's just that uh, typical behavior in especially SPY and SPX this year has been uh, traders in options are uh, selling selling strength and buying weakness, and that's been the behavior for several months at least. Not necessarily in stocks, but in ES, especially SPY and SPX, and sometimes in QQQ. But uh, it's almost the expected behavior for me in SPY and SPX to see it more, um, see Hero traveling more in the opposite direction of price action in those two, and as opposed to stocks where it's more of a confirming indicator, continuation indicator. And that what, in my mind, that's what makes stocks often easier to trade. If you're just looking for a trend confirmation. But uh, in my mind, again, the advantage of looking at Hero for ES in particular, and in NQ, QQQ sometimes, is it can act as the leading indicator and give you advance notice of a reversal. And this is just what I've gathered from looking at this stuff every day for days and weeks and months.
Yeah, yeah, makes great sense. And something I really like, Doug, is the simplicity of it as well. You've really, I mean, this option stuff can get so complex, and you've boiled it down to something very understandable and actionable.
Well, that's great. I hope it's more understandable, and hope this helps.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think it's great. And a great reference for everybody. We have this, and you can go back and review the YouTube video. Um, I think we're all set, Doug. I mean, I answered all the questions. If there's anything else that you want to go over.
I That's it. If you're interested in learning more, please take a look at the article. I posted the link before, and actually I have written a number of articles for Spotgamma, and I'll post this link. Oh, that's not it. Let me go back.
There, I just posted it in YouTube, and guys, I posted Doug's Twitter and Spot Gamma articles and etc. That I showed in the first one of the first slides there. So you have all those links as well.
All right, so I'll just post in Discord. Here's a list of them, all my articles. And these articles are, I wrote them for the Spotgamma blog, and they just describe how I use Bookmap and Spotgamma to trade stocks and futures.
Okay, excellent. So I posted it in YouTube as well. And
Great.
yeah, thank you, Doug. Thanks so much. This was really great. I was very curious about your kickoff strategy and seeing a lot of the great stuff you've been posting in Discord during the advanced webinars. Thank you for that. And thank you so much for today. Really good stuff.
Well, thanks. You're welcome.
All right, and we'll see you in mid-September with the uh, Pro Trader webinar series.
All right, great. I'll be there. Thanks, Bruce.
Okay,
And
thank
thanks
you, everybody.
everyone for attending.
Bye-bye.
Bye.